Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. It's my second interview today for those of you that are coming on. I am so excited. I'm Aisha Hogan from the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery, but once again, you guys know that, right? Because you're watching me. I have another one of our beautiful founding faculty members today, and I want to introduce you to Desiree Holmes Scherini. And over the years, over this last year, her and I have become wonderful friends as well as colleagues, in this beautiful mission that we're doing together. Hey, Desiree, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Aisha. I'm really happy to be here again talking to you. This is so funny. It's like, one of the hidden benefits of all this Zoom stuff is I actually get to talk to people more often than I would have because I waited to see you in person. So this is great to see you.
Yeah, so this is great. So Desiree, tell us a little bit about your resume. Desiree and her resume. So a little bit about the types of courses you're going to be teaching, what you do in your day-to-day life with people. Tell us a little bit about Desiree.
Okay. Well, let's see. Hard to figure out where to start. The big picture is I'm a hypnotherapist and life coach. I'm also an arts instructor. And professionally, those are the things that I focus my time on. I still teach painting and drawing and that sort of thing part-time. And I see clients for hypnotherapy and life coaching. And my focus, which has kind of developed because I don't really have, I only do this or I only do that. I'm not a come to me for, big toeitis. My focus tends to be on intuition.
Right. Yeah. Intuition. It's a great thing. I love that. Everyone has it. People says, I want to get intuition. How do you get intuition? You already have it. It's really about learning to develop it. So the very first thing, so there's two first things that I did with Desiree. But the very first thing that we did together, working together, like doing something when I went, I can't even speak today. The very first thing I did was Desiree taught me how to bend spoons. That was like the best. And we did it like in one Zoom call. I had this spoon and, she talked me through it. And before you knew it, I bent the spoon. Which, like, I didn't bend the spoon like this. I just actually, the spoon bent just like nothing. And it was an amazing experience. So among all the beautiful things that Desiree does, she's a spoon bender.
An earth bender, a fire bender. Yeah. But you know what? Actually, they're all connected. And I just on Saturday gave a presentation to a group about energy and about how it's, people think of it out there, but it's in here too. As above, so below, as without, so within. And we have been trained, especially in this last, say 200, 150 years, we've been trained to ignore that part of us, that if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. And if you can't measure it with scientific equipment, then you're Lulu,
Right.
So we've lost a lot. Yeah, we've lost a lot of, we haven't lost it, but we have ignored and doled down a lot of our personal power.
We have, and it's weird how it went. Like, because if you think about back in the day, like I'm going way back in the day, 80,000 years ago or something, when there's like shamanic people walking the earth, which we are shamanic, right? That's who we are down deep. So those people, they're doing their work and they moved into Wicca, like kind of came off of that. And, and it was all about earth, right? It was about earth. It was about our inner power. It was all about that. And then somewhere along the line, we lost it, right? So if you think about, I was doing an earlier interview today with GP, one of our other teachers, and he's talking about the 1970s and stuff. Like, people didn't talk about this stuff. Like, there's just like, it just really wasn't out there, and 1920s, if you think about it, it just wasn't really thought about.
Guess I'm supposed to be here.
And then, now we're moving slowly back into that time of understanding who we really are and our energies and our powers and our abilities.
Yeah, and I think they're the group of, like I've said before to either you or other people, I'm not sure if it's just I'm around more of those people now, or if it's really moving that direction. But from my personal experience, I see it expanding, that people are much more interested and embracing that it's not, you know, you don't belong in a crazy place. You're not
No,
crazy. And especially, that's why I love the spoon bending thing. When I found that, when I learned it, I'm like, oh, that's so fun. Look, it was a physical evidence that I could show someone that this power, this propensity, potential is within them in a direct and natural way. Because otherwise it's like, oh, just use your heart and mind and throw rose petals. And people are like, yeah, that's not real.
that's
But
not real.
yeah.
And the one thing that I find with my clients, and I say this is my one thing, they'll be like, I don't believe what I can't see. Right?
Yeah.
That's the one thing you get. And my
Yeah, prove it.
immediate, like
Show it to me.
always, my response to that is, okay, so I respect that. You don't believe what you can't see. So what does gravity look like?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just tell me what gravity looks like, because I've never seen it.
Exactly.
I know it's there, right? But I've never seen it.
And say, like I referred this presentation, so I tried to describe it like this. We've got the spectrum of light, and the visible light's like here, but it goes all the way out there. We recognize that there's microwaves that heat our food. We know there's radiation. We know there's radio waves because we can hear them. We're using them right now.
Yeah.
We admit to all these things. The gamma rays used in medical equipment. People don't say, "Oh, you're crazy," but if you tell them, guess what? There's energy out there that's maybe not identified by a name, that is a source that we can call in and magnify our thoughts and intentions. And then they start saying, well, that's weird.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like, I think I'm starting to think about it a little bit more different, right? And it's just like, you don't even have to call it in. It's already in you. Like, it's already there, right? So it's nothing that you have to go find. It's nothing that, it's not like you got to go buy it somewhere. It's none of that. You already have these amazing tools. You have these amazing abilities. You have these amazing capabilities. You just have been, the word that GP just used, which is a great word, conditioned. Conditioned not to see it, not to know that you have that.
And of course, you talk about, when did this start? I think it really started back around the time of the church coming in and then wanting people to go through them, and it comes down to power. And of course, now we can go fast forward and see evidence of that throughout the last several couple thousand years of the transition of power, and that there's certain elements that don't want people to have personal power. And
that's true. That is true. But I always think about perception too. Like,
yeah,
we all have our perception. So what is perception? Perception is based on our experiences, based on how we feel we've been victimized, right? These are where perceptions come from. So okay, so let's just go right out there. Let's pretend hypothetically, I am a prophet. Okay.
You are a prophet, Aisha.
So let's just say that I'm a prophet and I'm getting a message from the divine. At some point, I have to write down that message or communicate that message. And it's gonna still, like, I'm hearing it, but how am I perceiving it? Right? Mm-hmm. I'm hearing it, but how am I, like, if you say to me, I saw a sunset today, and you explained it to me, how do I see that sunset that you just explained in my mind? Right? It's going to be two different sunsets, right? So if I'm getting a message or I'm getting some feedback or something, and I'm going to try and share that, I feel like it's already getting distorted because it's not coming through the way that it should, because my conditioning is getting in the way, right? And then how do you hear it?
Exactly. I did a whole podcast on that, on perceptions, about how people misinterpret, or how, through our experience, our training, our teaching, our environment, that it's like we're looking through the world at several different veils. And the veils you're looking through are different than my veils. And even if we're looking at the same thing, we have these, like those pictures of bodies that you get as a kid, and it has the muscle overlay, and the bones overlay, and it has the stuff, the clear things. And so it's like a book of overlays that we look through to see the same thing, but our overlays are slightly different than each other's, or maybe very different from each other's. And that's where people go, well, you're wrong. I see it right here. It's plain as day. Can't you see that? And the other person's like, yeah, I see it, and you're crazy.
Right. And
Yeah.
that it's true.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens is we think that everybody has to think the same.
Yeah.
We think that everybody interprets what we see the same way. So if that's true, then we wouldn't even have to speak to each other, because we would all be thinking the same thing. Like, I'd already know what you're going to say, right? So it's, what's the point of talking to anybody? But I think because of all of our own past experiences, we all see things different. So I'm going to, again, I like using really big examples so people can really get it, right? So let's say someone who's a pedophile.
Yeah.
For them, it's normal. That's their normal, right? For them, for us, we're like, how could they even think that way?
Right.
But for them, it's normal, right? Certain people experience different things, and for them, it's normal. Like, I just used a really big example, but I mean, there's all different levels of that. But for us, it's like, how could they think that way? Well, we can't think like them because we're not them. And we didn't experience what they experienced, and we don't have the belief system that they have. And, it's just, they're going to see a red apple and see it as a different shade of red.
Or a little boy.
Or a little boy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we just get so horrified when people think things differently than us. Like, how many times have you had an argument with someone, a disagreement, and you're trying to explain the same thing to them over and over and over again, 15 different ways from Sunday, and they are not getting it. And you're like, what is happening here?
Right.
It's because they have not experienced what you're talking about. So what you're saying is like, I don't get it.
And I think that's, it's human nature that if people learn to be good listeners too, to open up our veils just long enough to listen to the other person describe their vision, that what they're saying, instead of, like we tend to do, always waiting to make our next argument for our point of view. That there could be so much more understanding. There's an interesting example, like currently going on. I have a friend who, like with political stuff going on right now, we're both absolutely agreeing on what's happening, but she sees it as her preferred political side as being the right answer, and I see it as my political ideology as being the right answer, and we're agreeing on, like, yes, I agree with you, but I don't agree that yours is the answer.
Right? I've had those arguments with my mother. Yeah. We all argue. Yeah. But I'm going, Mom, we're talking about the same thing. Like, you're saying that, and I'm saying that. We're both saying that, right? But we're just hearing each other hearing each other's version differently, and not listening to what they're saying to go, oh, you're just saying it with different words. But we're saying the same thing at the end. So yeah, you're right. Like, listening is huge, and people do speak differently. We all speak the same language. If we are speaking to each other, we're speaking the same language, but we're not, because we're using a language that means something to us.
And, another parallel that I often see is, as a art teacher, I will demonstrate something, and I'm like, okay, here's the sky, here's how you lay this in, et cetera, so forth. And I walk around the class, and everybody's painting, even though they're copying what I demonstrated, everybody's painting is different. And their colors are even different. And I'll say, well, you need to adjust that a little bit to be the same as this. Maybe they have a picture in front of them to use, and they don't see the difference. They're like, it's not right. And I said, no, look. And I hold it up next to it, and they go, oh, you're right, that's not the same. And everybody has their own signature on their artwork, even though it's the same painting, the same image they're copying. So I just, that's a great parallel. Everybody has their own. I think it's important to respect everybody's own thing without agreeing with it. Respect that their opinion or belief can be different. It doesn't mean you have to approve of it. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. You can just say, I agree to disagree. And it doesn't mean you have to have anything to do with that person, right? For example, a pedophile, if that's really against my belief system, I would say, I understand how you believe that. It doesn't mean I agree. It doesn't mean I
Yeah,
approve.
it doesn't mean I'm gonna hang out or bring any children over to visit. So yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
I always think of it all, you're so right. You're so right.
I know. I keep telling people that and I can't get them to agree. I keep saying, I'm so right. Can't you see that?
I have this, we'll move off that pedophile conversation, but
Yeah.
I have this saying that I found, like, anybody who watches my stuff knows that I have a vision wall in my house, right? So I have this one picture on it. It was like a statement, actually, it's not a picture. And it says, find joy with the people that don't think like you. Right? So it's about finding joy in people that think differently than you do. That it's okay that they think differently than you do. It's beautiful that they do. I think we have to, we put ourselves in a box and we need to pitch the box, right? And allow ourselves to say, this is my beliefs today. But who knows what's going to show up for me today, that I might change some things.
Yes. And being flexible and open to the fact that, somebody might change their ideology. I've talked to a few people that have said, I used to feel this way, but now I've changed my mind about that. I'm like, that's interesting. Just yesterday, I was having this vision. I was in the kitchen and I was playing music and I'm like, oh, this is happy music, And then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a dance party? No politics allowed, no anything, just have a dance party. And everybody who disagrees with each other just come to a dance party. Because music, everybody would, it kind of like it raises a vibration. It does some energetic work, and it would be like, well, there you go. We can agree that we like to dance,
The dancing makes our soul happy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's for us.
For sure. So yeah, I think, listening is important. I think about how I felt about spirituality. And I don't mean felt, like how I interpreted spirituality and energy work and that type of stuff when I think about 10 years ago, and how I feel about and interpret things now. I look at that girl and all the way she was thinking about things. I thought I was so open-minded back then. And I'm like nowhere near the way that I think about it now. I think that was like probably kindergarten way of thinking. And now I feel like I don't think I'm a PhD in this or anything, but I think I'm like more like a high school graduate now. And I kind of think about it and I'm like, it's because I allowed myself to allow other beliefs in. I allowed myself to say, does that resonate with me? Does that, like, it's going to change how I feel about things, but maybe it's time for it to change, and allowing that change to happen.
I was going to say the same thing, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago or whatever, if somebody talked about some of the stuff I talk about, I'd be like, they're a little weird, and now I'm like, I embrace my weirdness.
We are just weirderful. That's where we are. We're
weirderful. I like that.
Weird and wonderful. So what courses are you going to be teaching? Let's talk about the courses that you're going to be teaching inside IAUSM.
Yes, I'm excited about your creation. So I have 2 that are already uploaded and more in the can that are going to be coming up. But the 2 that are there one is on intuition. And I remember you had to help me come up with the perfect title for this. So I believe, if I remember my own title, I can't seem to remember, it's Hearing the Sound of Your Own Voice.
Trust the sound of your own intuition.
Thank you,
Trust the sound of your intuition. Yeah, I think it was.
It was voice. Trust the sound of your own voice. Trust the sound of your own voice. That's it. Write that down and remind me what it is when I can't remember the title. Because I went through so many possibilities, and finally, trust the sound of your own voice, because we talked about what are we teaching there, and that's a combination of guided meditations with finding feelings within your body. So focusing on what does a feeling feel like, and then tying that together. So getting in touch with your mind and body and finding what that is, so that in the future, how when you walk into a room or something and you're like you might get a pain over here or a tightness here, and you're like, that's weird. Well, after this course, that will have a translation because you'll tie it to previous experiences of what was that. So that's a body, mind, intention, not
That's
intention, but
amazing.
intuition building. And the other one that I have uploaded is creating your personal mandala making, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And again, it's introducing the mandala and creating your own. And you can do that course over and over again. Well, you could do both of them over and over again, but kind of just creating mandalas that mean something to you or that you use as a meditation tool or just have fun. So
Yeah.
those are the two I have up. I'm going to be putting up one on another sort of a insight course on using automatic, not automatic writing, but intuitive writing and art, and using that for getting in touch with your own thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to be later on in the spring probably uploading one on a certification in clinical and transpersonal hypnotherapy.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, and I have so many more ideas, but
Oh, I know. I'm
yeah.
thinking about all, like, if people could see the bottom of this bookshelf, it's like filled with ideas for courses that I'm going to be doing. And I just have to get past this creation piece of IAUSM.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy journey. The last 6 months have been nuts, like nuts in a good way, but learning so much. In fact, right now we're in December. So anybody who's watching this in the future, right now we're in December, and I have to make a huge change, which I haven't told you about yet, Desiree, but I have to make a huge change in our website, in our academy, because I have to go back to where we were at the very beginning.
Oh, no, that doesn't mean I have to load new things, does it?
You don't have to do anything. We're doing it.
Good.
Because, it's been interesting. And here's the thing about trusting the sound of your own voice. So I am going to give you a perfect example. So we're building this academy, which is very different because it's a full-on social academy with courses and groups and stuff. And it has it's this a community. And the reason why this sort of came down as a vision for me, right, to do this, and I went with it over the pandemic, and I just sort of went with it. And we started building, and faculty started coming. We're over 100 faculty strong now, and more are coming every day. And it's amazing because I know we're going to have over 500 faculty. So the next day when I was sort of asking energy, I was like, how do you want me to do this? Because literally it came like a vision. So those of you who have heard the story, you know. So it showed up as a vision. I decided to follow up with this vision and move towards it. And the very next day, a platform showed up for me to work on. So we started building on that platform, right? We started building on that platform. And then I wanted a front end to this platform so that, people understood there was a lot of fun stuff that's going to go on there, right? So I wanted to hire a web designer to do this. And they convinced us to move off of the platform. And the moment that I was asked to do that, I remember feeling like I got punched in the stomach.
Oh.
Right? I remember feeling that. And I thought it was because of all the work that was going to entail. So I just kind of put that aside. But it felt so sick in me. Like it felt really bad in me for days. I felt weepy every time I even thought about doing this. But I thought, Aisha, it's just because of the work that's entailed. You've done so much work. You're just probably just feeling bad that you have to do it all over again. And then it was 6 months of literally, it's been a nightmare for the last 6 months with technology, like dealing with tech and stuff and dealing with these things. And the site is up and it works fine and everything, but it's just not working the way that I want it to work, which this platform was.
Oh.
Right. So we sat and we made a decision because I've got 5 people in my advisory board that have huge companies and businesses and have run big leadership companies. So we have an advisory board. These are also teachers on our faculty. And, I have my own council as well, right? There's 6 of us in a council. And so we had a meeting and I showed them this, and they know what I've been going through, because doing this on your own, it's not that I'm on my own. It's just that I'm the one who has been handling this piece. So weeks and weeks, I've been not sleeping. I could go 3 or 4 days not sleeping. And because it's just been this whirlwind of what do I do and what do I do and what do I do and dealing with technology, which is not what I want to be doing. So it's been interesting. So they said, let's move it. Let's move it back to that. And I thought,
Oh,
and the minute they said it, we have over 100 courses now we have to move, and we have to move them manually, and we're going to be doing this, right? And it was just like, for a moment, I thought about all the work, and the next moment, I felt so good. Like I felt like, yes, this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And I thought, like, Aisha, why didn't you just freaking listen to yourself back then when you felt that in your body? You felt it for not only in that moment, but for days, and you didn't do anything. You just went with it because someone else who's supposed to be an expert told you to do this, and you knew that you shouldn't have.
yeah,
And I
that's
went with
exactly
it,
what happens.
and there was sign after sign after sign that kept showing up. I mean, eventually our site even got, like, we even had a bit of a hacking issue, right? So, which we solved immediately, but it happened. And I'm like, how many more signs do I need? Like, seriously? And so we're moving back. And is it going to be a lot of work to do it? Oh yeah, way more work, right? Right now for us to do this, and we're doing it all in 1 month. So it's just like, we're going to do it. I feel thrilled that we're going to do it. I know in my heart and of hearts that we're making the right decision. And I know that everything is going to be amazing after that. I mean, it already is. But is it like, it's like, oh my God, like I just did this huge thing. But I guess the big message here is, even when you're following your divine purpose, even when you're on mission, even when you know you're doing the right thing in your life, obstacles are going to show up. Things are going to try and block you. Stuff is going to happen, and you have to learn how to roll with it.
Right. And
Got
I
to
think
learn how to roll with it.
you're exactly right too. And sometimes we feel so confused. And here's the thing. That's why I think someone outside of yourself to bounce things off of, like a life coach or a friend or whoever, because when I always say, when you're in it, you can't see it.
Yes.
So it's really helpful to, when you feel that, like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I do this? Shouldn't I? I'm not sure. That's also why I also like, say, oracle cards or tarot or whatever, as a, or intuitive writing or intuitive art or any of these things that help you connect with your intuition, or just knowing your gut feeling, like you say, to go with it, is because we can take, one of the things I say is that what my work, I'd like to make a shortcut for people, that in my personal experience through going through something, I didn't listen to my own voice, right? And it took me this long to get from here to here. And so a lot of my work, that's really what spurred me on. My passion is to help people not go through so much to get where they know they need to be.
Well, sometimes you got to, because
yeah, it's good.
I like right now I've been talking to someone who's like web logistics, right? So they control logistics for big corporations and stuff. So I was talking to them about, and I've had several meetings with them about what I was going to do, right? And at the end of, well, we're not end, like we keep talking, but his idea of what I should do and what I'm doing right now are two different things. Now he's an expert, and I could have gone that way, right? Which would mean I'm continuing to deal with what I'm dealing with, but doing it in a different way. And I thought, like, but my gut's not telling me that.
Right.
It was nice to talk it out, but at the end of the day, I had to listen to me.
Exactly.
Right? And not just listen to one more person who's not me and isn't living my purpose and isn't living my mission and isn't living what I'm supposed to be doing in this world, helping them, like allowing them to once more guide me off my path, that I'm going to have to come back this way again.
Exactly.
And, right. But it was nice to have that person to talk to about it. And even though at the end I'm making my own decision about what I should be doing, because now I'm listening to myself, it's still good to have that conversation. It still helped me a lot. And it opened my eyes to things that I probably wouldn't have seen or considered.
Right. And my point was exactly what you're saying, is to have someone to bounce things off of, but to as more information for your own feelings. And so the same thing, like I was talking about my experience, is like when I wanted to make a change in my life, probably, 9 out of 10 people said, oh, don't do it. Just, calm down. And maybe only 2 people felt like what my gut felt like. So it took me longer because I had so many voices saying, don't make a change. But ultimately, when I listened to myself, that was like, whoo, like you said, it was just this like weight lifted off that I was no longer doubting myself.
Yes.
It's like it may be the weight may be heavier on one side, but your intuition should be given much more weight than I think most people
Yes.
give it.
Absolutely. So that's a really great message to put out there because, you know, don't forget when people are giving you advice. So I'm going to say this. So when people are giving you advice and when people are guiding you, whether they're friends or family or, you know, somebody that you're just talking to or whatever, you have to understand that those people have had experiences in their lives that maybe bring fear to them
Oh yeah,
in that
they're,
situation.
they're looking through their own veils. Like
Right? Exactly. So
let
they're
have
looking
that
through
perception.
their veils, which are not your veils.
Exactly.
And it's good to have those conversations. It's good to be open to different points of view. It's good to see things through other people's eyes, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to yourself. Like that doesn't, the end result has to be what feels good for you. And I
What
mean,
feels right.
when
Yeah.
I think about that day, and I literally felt like somebody kicked me in my gut when she told me it, and I felt sick like for over 24 hours. And even making the choice, I still did it anyways. I'm thinking back going, what the hell? Like, how big a sign did you need? Did you need a brick to fall on your head? Like, you know, but I learned a lot in the last 6 months. So I have to think about what did I learn? I got great feedback. I've learned more than I could have ever learned about technology and leadership and dealing with stressful situations and keeping a team together. And like, I learned a lot, like a lot. And, you know, I may not have learned those things, and maybe I needed to learn those things.
And the like one of course as a life coach, one of the things that I tell people when they're disappointed when something didn't work out, I said, well, you know, now you learned something, you gained some experience, you gained some knowledge, and it's the perception, the way you look at things instead of like, well, life stinks and nothing ever works out for me. It's like you just picked up a whole lot of information. And Esther Hicks, I love her. You know, when she talks about when somebody says, well, this didn't work and that didn't work, and she goes, well, now you know what you don't want. The more you know what you don't want, the more you know what you do want.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I have to say, there's even days, like there's been days where, you know, it's been a couple of days since I've slept because I had to deal with all these tech issues and
I know
stuff.
how you do that.
And I remember looking at my ceiling one day, looking like I was yelling at God going, why are you messing with me? I'm doing what you want me to do. You asked me to do this. I'm doing it. Why are you messing with me? Right. So it was just like, are you bored today? Like, so, so I remember having, and then laughing at myself, right? I go, okay, that was a silly conversation, but it was something, it was just release. I needed to release, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's been a funny journey. It's been a trying journey. It's been an educational journey. I've laughed, I've cried, I've loved, I've been screamed at my ceiling. I've been like all kinds of things going through this. And I have to say, you know, I still, there's no way I'm giving up on it. Like, there's no way that I wouldn't do this. Like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know it. And I love the obstacles that show up because every time I manage to get through it, I'm actually 3 steps ahead rather than back. Right. So it's an interesting journey to say the least. And I can't believe it's all happened like in 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, and like we say, just there, everything's a learning opportunity. Like, so sometimes when I'm getting frustrated, like you, instead of like, oh, why, I'm like, well, thank you for this opportunity. One of my favorite poems that I like to share with people when things just don't seem to be going right is, are you familiar with Rumi's The Guest House?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome every, terrible person into your house. Let them tear up your house and just greet them as a friend,
Yeah.
And it's a little more poetic than that. But yeah, for the listeners, I recommend just finding that poem and printing it out, stick it on your refrigerator for those days when it just seems a little too hard.
I think I might actually have it right here.
Yeah, that'd be great if you read it.
I think I have it right here. Is this where it is? 1 second. Let's just, Right, not that one, not that one. Here it is, the guest house.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to read this one now. It's called The Guest House. That's actually the name of it. And it says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Yay, Rumi. And you know how we meet people who just seem to just take things in stride and be positive. I was in like Sally Beauty Supply, and the young lady behind the counter was the most gracious, beautiful human being. And her coworker had just been on the phone and was like upset with whoever, you know, from headquarters or something. And one of the other customers, you know, that was being checked out said, like, what's wrong? And she goes, oh, you know, she's just having a hard time with, you know, what they're telling us to do. And she goes, but, you know, it's just life. I just figured we just need to be happy and just, you know, life's short. Just be happy and enjoy it. And she was the sweetest thing. She goes, come on down and hang out with me. If you just want to visit, you don't have to buy anything. And I just like, you know,
so nice.
And she was just, you know, I can't, like, this positive energy oozing from her, just a happy, positive person, even though things might not be working out. She says, yeah, things don't always work out, but, you know, you just got to learn from them and keep going. There's no reason to be upset.
That's awesome. It's true. It's so true. It's so true.
And she had learned the lesson really early. I mean, like, maybe she didn't even have to learn the lesson. Maybe she was lucky enough to be born already knowing that, but most people have to learn that.
True enough. True enough. Well, thank you so much, Desiree, for joining today. I am so glad that you're part of our faculty and been through all of our ups and downs with us since the beginning. So that's okay. And they've all been like ups and, like, I don't want to call them downs. Ups, just, you know, these little hills.
Yeah, we're riding the wave.
Just riding the wave. Exactly. You know, just I feel like surfing a tsunami sometimes, but there you go. Anyway,
well, you're surfing the tsunami and I'm out there in the calm waters. I'm out there doing this while you're going, oh, holy crap.
Yeah, I've become very good at surfing. So thank you again for being part of us. And, you know, like that girl said behind the counter, if you're just looking for a place to hang out, you know, come to IAUSM. It's IAUSM.com. Do come to IAUSM. By January, we'll have the new platform up. You can still join now, but, you know, January might be better. And so it's like, yeah, so it's just going to be fun. It's just fun. And it's just being part of a community that's going to really support you in your growth to get you to that place that you need to be.
It has lots of stuff there for you, groups, free classes, extended classes, all sorts of stuff. And like I said, even I as a customer, I'm looking forward to taking part in a lot of the things that I see there. So.
Oh yeah, like as a faculty member, like I'm like all like I can't believe some of the courses that are coming in. And I'm like I can't wait to take those.
Yeah.
So great, and it's part of it being a part of a community and groups and events, and we've got so much going on, and it's going to be really, it's fun. It's so fun.
So thank you, Aisha.
You're so welcome, and I will talk to you soon, Desiree. Thank you for joining, and thank you for all that have been watching. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.